late 1980s, my band Malachi played Jacksonville, North Carolina quite a bit. There's a giant Marine base there, Camp Lejeune, and the two clubs that I used to play was the Bayou and the Driftwood. The Bayou was the bigger club, but the Driftwood had the better strippers. You know, and it was literally right across the street from where the Marine base was. You know, I mean, that was the trifecta of military entertainment, was heavy metal, strippers, and beer, all in one building called the Driftwood, right across from the main gates, right? So it was a pretty rough and rowdy gig, you know, because literally the only patrons in there were the Marines, you know. One of the interesting things about the Driftwood is they only sold beer by the case, okay? They wouldn't sell a bottle, they wouldn't sell two, they only sold cases. So every table in the bar had a case of long necks, either the Rolling Rocks or the Bud or whatever the two choices were. There was two choices, right? So every table in the club had those beer bottles, right? We had put the sound and lighting consoles back by where the pool tables were, and every stick was broken and taped back together from all the bar fights that were happening there, you know. And what would happen is that the band would play on one side of the room and the girls would strip on the other side of the room. Bar was kind of in the middle of it all, one big rectangle, and that was what was happening at the Driftwood. Once in a while, as you can imagine, a fight would break out. And be a couple guys fighting, be a couple guys getting down on it, then it get a little bigger, and you know, these aren't some college douchebags, some frat boys. These are the Marines. This is America's invasion force. They're having a fight in this bar, and shit gets pretty serious pretty fast. But the thing about the Driftwood, you know, was the owner. And the owner was this guy named Big Jim, who literally was a hand-to-hand combat instructor at the place across the street. One of the Marines told me that he had written the book on how to kill people in the jungle, whatever the jungle knife fighting to the death kind of thing was. Big Jim was the guy that wrote the manual, and every single Marine in that bar, they knew who he was. And I'll tell you this: when a fight would get out of hand, you know, we would keep playing. And the rule is with a band, you know, you never stop playing. we would be playing Master of Puppets. This big Marine fight would be going on in front of us, and when Big Jim came around the corner of that bar, every single Marine in that place sat the fuck down, because everyone knew who he was, and you were leaving on your 2 feet or an ambulance via Big Jim. I mean, the guy had no neck. I mean, he was like one of the biggest human beings for someone. Like, he was one tough motherfucker. You know, and the thing that was funny about him is that at the end of each night, he would make sandwiches for all of us. He'd make sandwiches for the band and for all the strippers. So when the gig was over, you know, we'd all be sitting at the bar with the strippers eating these sandwiches and having Cokes and rum and whiskey and everything else, you know. So that was a great part about that gig. But I remember one time going there. For whatever reason, we didn't have hotels, motels. We didn't have accommodations. Were not available. So the options were either A, sleeping on the bus, lame because it was cold outside, or sleeping on the pool tables in the club, which was lame. And the young lady that I usually hooked up with in Jacksonville, for whatever reason, I couldn't get a hold of her. So being in a Marine town, listen, man, you got to do like the Marines, and you got to improvise, you got to adapt and overcome. And that's what I did. And I took an offer from a stripper in the club, and I went home with her. She had a generous offer: come back to my place and let's have a good time. Well, I don't see what's complicated about that. Go home with a stripper or sleep on a pool table. I chose stripper. Get in her truck. It's like a 60s era truck, and we're driving and we're driving. We're driving and we're driving and we're driving. We're driving about a half hour away at this point, and you know, North Carolina, middle of the night, back in the 80s, nothing, there's no light except for what I can see through her headlights, right? So we're going down this road, lights going up and down, and we pull up to this trailer that's in this wood clearing in the woods, right? Pull up to this trailer, and the lights are shining on the door of the white trailer there, and I noticed something about the door that I find very interesting, the front door, and I'm fascinated. So I'm sitting in the truck, sitting next to her, looking at that door, and what do I see is 9 holes in that door. And I'm a hillbilly. I'm from Ohio. I know what that is. 9 holes, that's double-aught buck, baby. That's a shotgun blast right through that fucking door. And immediately, I've got concerns, right? I'm like, what happened to the door? And she goes, yeah, come on in. Gets out, closes the door immediately. My spidey senses are tingling. I've been in some ugly situations before, with crazy bitches trying to make their men jealous and make me part of that scenario, and not digging it, right? So, all right, okay, I'm dedicated. Go in the trailer with this chick. Go in. She goes in and throws her keys down, throws her purse, and here's something that I've always believed, and I believe this to my core. When you go home with a young lady and she gently sets her purse down, she puts everything all organized, that's a sign of a classy lady that's got her act together and is probably a responsible and mature adult. Now, when you walk into a place and the bitch just throws her keys down, throws out this, takes off her top and throws it on the floor, man, you are in for some good time. A, and B, she might be a bit of a loose cannon. Right, so unfortunately that was the direction that this was going. So she goes in, throws her shit down, immediately takes her tops, throws it on the ground. She goes, you stay right there, I'll be right back. She had that, that North Carolina accent that I couldn't replicate without butchering it. So I'm like, right on, man. So I'm there, standing there in that living room, and it's kind of dim in there. I step out of my shoes, take my shirt off, and I look down. I fucking look down. I'm looking down, right? And what I see is probably the biggest set of fucking boots that I've ever seen in my life, man. I mean, these fucking boots, I couldn't even guess. Couldn't even guess what fucking size they were. I could have grabbed 2 of my fucking feet in that kind of boot. I was horrified, man. I put my shirt back on. I put my shoes back on. I'm looking at these giant Frankenstein fucking boots, man. I'm starting breathing heavy. just remembering the story, it's freaking me out. Man, she walks back in, comes through those fucking little beads. He goes, hey, baby. I'm like, who the fuck owns these fucking boots? First question I got for this bitch. Who the fuck owns these boots? She goes, oh, that's my ex. That's ex? How long you been broke up? She goes, oh, it's been 3 days now. 3 fucking days. And I'm looking around, and it's pictures of him. It's pictures of him like next to this fucking Jeep. Looks like he could pick it up and throw it. He's a fucking monster. She goes, don't worry, he's on deployment. He could be anywhere. I was like, yeah, goddamn right he could be anywhere. Like fucking outside right now. One of the things that really horrified me is that the Marines always told me about this technique they had that they learned from Big Jim about coming up from behind from somebody with a knife and putting a bayonet up the enemy's ass. For sure, this guy knew that technique. I was like, man, listen, I do not want my last pornographic image to be in your boyfriend's fucking sight here. Not working. Not working at all, man. I mean, you expect any action out of anything that I've got hanging off my body under this kind of stress, under this kind of pressure, and I've been here before, and it is always ugly. Never turns out good, not once, not ever. This ain't gonna fly. So the bitch put her clothes back on, got back in the truck, took me back to the place. She called me a big pussy, and she was right, because whatever that that giant, I don't know what the fuck, it's the fucking Cyclops, Sasquatch fucking monster motherfucker, whatever the fuck he was dishing out with that bitch, I wasn't having it, man. So she took me back to the fucking club, peeled away, left my pussy ass there, guilty. And I slept on that fucking picnic table, like the pool table, but just like I didn't want to. And, you know, better than dying, that's what I'm saying. All right, so, you know, next day, I hook up with the chick that I usually hook up with, and you know, she was really awesome. She was amazing. She was beautiful blonde, amazing body, and she owned a t-shirt shop, and she had lots of money, which, you know, for a broke-ass musician, that's what kind of really goes a long way, you know. And she had this awesome Trans Am that she drove. It was like a '78 Trans Am, still had the eagle on the hood. I mean, just fucking mint. She loved that car. And the only thing about hooking up with her is one of her fetishes, for whatever reason, was watching westerns while we were having sex. You know, it was like Bonanza and Gunsmoke, and she had him in that old top loader VCR kind of thing. So the westerns are going on, and we're doing it. You know, it's just kind of bizarre, kind of weird, but you know, the chick treated me great, and always had a refrigerator to eat out of, always gave me money and that kind of thing, and bought me shit because, you know, once again, poor ass musician, it went a long way, especially the fact that she didn't have any shotgun holes in the fucking front door of her goddamn place. So that went along with me, went a long way with me as well. So we're partying back at the hotel, back at the motel one night. A friend of mine's band playing down the road at the bayou. They come over. Now we're having a big party. Big party raging on at the motel, and shit's getting a little out of control. And we get to the point where the chick wants to leave, and it's okay, well, I'm definitely leaving with the chick. I'm not staying here in the fucking asylum when I've got an escape route here. You know, so me and the chick go out to leave it, and now a bunch of guys are following us. Pete, don't go, come on, man, stay, we gotta hang, you know. So I'm walking out with the chick, and our lighting guy, Beasley, who kept a hard hat with us, so when he got too drunk, he'd put that hard hat on, because he knew, we all knew, he was going down. He was going down all the way, not half, I mean down to the fucking ground at some point. So the hard hat was there just to keep him alive for the next round. So Beasley comes out, and he's walking after me. He's got that hard hat on. It's going, come on, Pete, you gotta hang out, man. We're having fun, right? And he had that like chain that going from his belt to his wallet, that little biker chain fucking thing, right? He sits down on the hood of that bitch's car while she's just opening the door, and I'm on the other side, right? So I'm on the other side of the car. He sits down on the hood of the car, and the next fucking thing I see is that hard hat whizzing by me. She punched him in the side of the fucking face so hard. And then she's hitting him and hitting him and hitting him and hitting him. And he's like, stop, stop, stop. And she grabs him by the hair. And, you know, and she was a tough chick. She was like 6 feet tall. You know, she was definitely some Scandinavian warrior type breed, you know. She grabbed him by the hair and punched him in the stomach, and that motherfucker, he threw up all over her and the car, right? So he's exploded vomit. Now she's covered in his Taco Bell draft beer diet, right? She's covered in his fucking puke. He's puking all over the car, and as he's puking, she's still hitting him. You motherfucker! Just punching him. He can't get away because she's got him by the hair and she's throwing up in between hits. She's covering it. It's all over the car. You know, he's like, please stop. He's trying to get please stop in between each belt. And like, you know, listen, I'm not going to stop it because at the end of the day, no matter the fact, okay, she's covered in puke. That's right. But I still don't want to stay in the asylum. And I still want to get laid. At least I can hose her off, you know. The situation stayed here with the nutcases. You know, so finally I had a moment of mercy. It was brief. Believe me. Walked out and I pulled her off. She's fucking pissed. She was fucking pissed. We went to a car wash and I literally hosed the bitch off with the hose of the car wash and her car. We certainly spent more time in the car. And after that night, I think that was the last time I ever saw her. You know, not every relationship works out. You know, my time in Jacksonville, yeah, I just gotta say, man, we had some good time, and to live a life that without the cell phone and be able to capture all these images at the time, all I gotta say is, oh my God, thank God for that.